Well, welcome today to this presentation. This is about the Future Ready story. And my name is Tay Cottingham, and I work in the Student Success Center at Concordia University. And Future Ready is a skill development program that was started in 2018. So I'm going to share the story of sort of the research behind it, how we developed the program, give you a snapshot of the programming, talk to you about the assessment cycle, the partnerships we have, and at any point, because we're a very intimate group, I would love you to just stop me, ask questions as we go along. This is for you, and I really just want you to get the most out of this as you can. So what I want you to do, and maybe you can just pair off, or we could just do this openly, or you can just take a minute to write quietly. I would love you to think about what you would consider the 5 top skills that undergraduates need to be successful in the current and sort of future workforce. If there are 5 skills, really, what would you think that they would be? So just take 1 second, take a minute to do quiet writing. And as I go through this first part of the presentation, you can add to your skill list, you can adapt it. So I want you all to think about that. So the program, before I joined the program in 2018, Andrea Taylor, who's the lead for the Future Ready program and who is now on mat leave and having a baby next week, spent a year interviewing stakeholders across the university, students, staff, faculty, employers, people in the community, to do the research about the future of work, and did a lot of reading. And this is a really, I love this because it shocks me every time I see it, that young people can, on average, expect to have 15 jobs over 3 sectors over the course of their career. So I've been very fortunate to have a linear career. I was with one organization for 25 years and have now moved somewhere else, to Concordia, very fortunately for me. But I want you to think about this, and as you sort of look back at that list that you made of the 5 skills, think about this in terms of, students are going to live longer than many of us because of demographic shifts. They also are exposed to globalization. They might move across countries. They might move across Canada. And sort of what kind of skills you think that they need to be able to navigate and be successful in this kind of a workforce. So I'm sharing, this came from the Business Council, and you can see some top 5 skills for when you first start your career, and then as you move through your career. And I'd be really curious to see, whether you had any of these skills on your checklist. Hello, Helena. Really nice that you're joining us.
Sorry for being late.
Oh, no problem at all. So we're just talking about, I asked everybody to think about 5 skills that they think that students would need to be successful as they transition from university into their profession. So I'm curious, Sylvia, did you have any of these skills on your list?
Yeah, I had problem solving skills, definitely. And I think I broke it down into a bit more. So my top one was sort of flexibility and adaptability to whatever the new problem, new context is.
Yes.
And just being able to understand what's going on and then recruit whatever is necessary, content and other subject matter skills if relevant. So yeah, that's what I had in mind.
Perfect. That's really wonderful. So this is another more extensive list, because as we know, we're really confronting a lot of machine learning, automation, artificial intelligence. And so here's a more extensive list. And what I find notable about this is we've got the emotional intelligence, collaboration, a lot of the critical thinking, you know, as you mentioned, the problem solving, the cross-cultural fluency. So a lot of these schools, what I find is noticeable is what they're sort of considered to be the human skills, and they're somewhat immune to automation. We haven't sort of advanced that far. So these are really important skills for students to develop, and they are absolutely developing this as they go through whatever their discipline is at university. But it's to have a really pointed view to ensure that students are developing a lot of these skills that we know that they're going to need in the future of work, and that employers are asking for them to have. So FutureReady is a skill development program. It's specifically designed for undergraduate students. There was a gap at Concordia University. There's a wonderful skill development program called Grad Pro Skills for graduate level students. But we wanted to make sure that the undergraduate audience really had the benefit of developing the skills. It's all non-credit, it's all voluntary, it's workshop based. Students come, they can work through the program all through their time at Concordia, and they can keep coming back as recent grads. So we really started with all that research that I just talked about. We were thinking about the skills, but FutureReady didn't exist in 2017, 2018 when I joined the program. So we had to come up with the vision, the mission, setting goals, and then design the program. And we use the Understanding by Design framework, which I'll talk about a little bit, and then develop all of the marketing and promotional materials. So it's really been a wonderful journey that that I've been so lucky to be part of. So what you can see here is when we started to think about our vision for students, is that we envisioned that they would leave Concordia. So all undergraduate students would leave Concordia confident, capable, and career ready. And with the research that we had, then we developed these core skill areas. So the student in the center, and then we have these core skill areas. And then it's really important for us to have students who, when they come into the learning activities, much like we're doing today, connect. So, you know, we really want them to develop a personal and a professional network. So we run FutureReady to as much as we can as a family. There's always someone from the team there to welcome students. We want it to be a very safe learning environment for students. We want them to feel that they get to know each other, and that they get to know the facilitators, and they get to know our team. And then a really important value is reflection. And so as the students go through workshops in any of these core areas, they have to fill out a reflection form immediately after the workshop is over. And it's very short, and it's really addressing what are their key takeaways, how can they apply it as they move forward that week with something. They give us some feedback about the program, but it's very immediate, and we make sure it happens at every workshop. And then here, you know, this recognition, it's a program where we give certificates. We feel it's really important because while students have their transcripts in university, and there are co-curricular records, we want them to be sure that they can say that they came through the FutureReady program, that they earned a certificate in innovation and entrepreneurship. They can put that on their LinkedIn account, they can put it on their job search record. So it's very important for us as we develop the program. It's really part of what our mission and our vision is for the students. So at this point, are there any questions just about how, how the research brought us to this point, or these core skill areas? Great. Okay.
I do have a question, and
Yeah.
I might have missed it, but so you mentioned there is this reflection process going on as soon as they finish each of the workshops. Is there any follow-up for them on those reflection stages, or how do they make it meaningful and forward-looking in a way, rather than just backward-looking?
Yes. Okay. That's a very good question. I'm going to go through a little bit about, just let me take you into sort of a little bit deeper into the program and the program design. And I'm going to make sure that I talk about that. And I'd be so interested to learn, what you would have to share too about this, because all of this is a program that's in constant development. We're always assessing and trying to iterate and make it better. So that's really valuable that you asked that question. So again, these are our core skill areas. This is a screenshot from our website, just to see, what we ended up with as we moved through all the marketing materials. And what I want you to do is to think about, because we all have had the experience of transitioning from university, going into an internship or a summer job, or moving into our career. And I just wanted you to think about if you had some sort of key big ideas for career development. If you were designing the career development module, what would you want, sort of from your expertise of developing your own career, what would be some big understandings that you would want students to take away as they go through that? Or what would be some key things that you would want them to do? So just, to give you one idea, if we were saying by the end of this module, students would be able to do, this particular thing in regards to career development, or what's a foundational understanding. So we might say relationships are foundational to building, maintaining, and growing one's career. So if that's a foundational understanding that we want them to have going through the career development module, so then we might say, okay, how did they build those? How does a student build those relationships? How do we have them learn skills like setting up an informational interview? How do we make sure that they network? So is it just LinkedIn 101? So I'm just wondering if, thinking about your own career, just what you would share as what would you see some big ideas if you were designing this module, or what would you think would be really important for students? Just what should they be able to do as they move through this skill development module? If you have any ideas, by all means unmute and share. I'd love to hear from you. And if not, I'll give it all away.
I would say, because most of my experience have been working in career development with international students. So a very important piece of that for me always was workplace culture, addressing kind of appropriate behaviors in the workplace. And I mean, the workplace is ever changing, so it's a little bit challenging perhaps, but I do think that cultural piece, if you're working with international students, would be very important to incorporate in career development.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. And it was interesting because, we had the cross-cultural competencies as a really important skill for students as they move forward. So this is just some of the big ideas, as we were thinking about the career development module. And the reason why I'm showing you this is just to show you the process of how we designed the learning goals for students. We use the understanding by design framework. So thinking about what were the big ideas, and then what would be evidence that the students actually are understanding and able to demonstrate these ideas. So I'm just, the diverse sets of skills on that sort of build on what their academic competencies might be, understanding the transferability of those skills, the relationships, and this idea of that you are going to drive your own career, that you really have to understand yourself. You have to have that emotional intelligence. You have to be goal-oriented, because what the research showed us is that you will move from, potentially being self-employed to contracts, to maybe be permanent, that you're going to zigzag. So I think that, what you said about really understanding yourself and being able to move, to have the cross-cultural fluency is so important. And I just wanted to show you this, just to show you how we were designing the module. We worked with a working group. We worked with our career counselors and our career advisors. We worked across campus to try and build out what we felt would be really important for students. And we worked so closely with our career advising team in developing the workshops, offering the workshops. So partnership and collaboration has been key in every element of FutureReady. So that was just a little bit to show you what our design process has been. What is really important to us also, and it builds on that idea of collaboration and connecting across the university, is we mapped out what already existed, what workshops existed. So for instance, if we think back to career development, we went to anybody who was working in the university around helping students develop their job search documents, prepare for careers, to see what workshops already existed. And then when we found gaps, we sought out facilitators, and we have worked so hard to find wonderful, experienced facilitators. And we shared all our documents about what our learning outcomes were, what we expected, the evidence would be, part of that understanding by design framework, with each facilitator. So when they are designing a new workshop, they know what we're looking for in terms of what the learning outcomes should be. And then we also share how important that reflection piece is. And also that workshops have to be hands-on. So if you come to a FutureReady workshop, you are going to go into breakout rooms in this new Zoom environment and spend time with other students. Or when we were all together, you'd be working in groups. It was really, really, it's such an important value that it's experiential. And it's really important that there's time for the reflection. So Sylvia, back to your question about reflection. So the student fills out that reflection form at the end of every workshop. And once they've completed 4 activities in our programming for career development, and I think I have, so this is just a snapshot of sort of what our programming looks like. So, if they've gone through 4 activities in career development, the networking, thrive from working from home, building your career as a freelance consultant, optimizing LinkedIn, then once we feel that they've captured enough of an experience, they then fill out a deeper reflection form that links back to the learning goals of the module. So I know it's always this sort of backwards view, but the intention is for them to really express the skills that they're learning and how it applies to whether it's their internship or something in their life. And then we hope that moving forward, because they have copies of all of their reflection forms, that they can reflect back and they can look at, oh, that was really important what I learned in the Thrive from Working from Home workshop. I'm going to apply this as I move forward in my new position, where I'm not meeting anybody because I'm working from home in my office, but I have tips and strategies of how to experience this new work environment. So I'm not sure if that answers your question. And I'd love to hear from you about, how you think we could improve what that experience is for a student.
Oh yeah, you totally did. And I was just, yeah, now that I see this and that you're sort of recapitulating their experience at a certain point in time and asking them to reflect on how things apply to whatever they're doing in the moment in terms of work, if it's the career development aspect of it. I think that enables a transfer of this knowledge that they've been gaining and experience into something meaningful. So I think it's beautifully built in that regard. And yeah, thanks.
Thank you. We looked at what universities across Canada and the US really are around the world, at what they were doing, and had so many conversations. So all of this grows out of that collective experience of building this type of programming. So we always try to have at least 8 workshops per core skill module, so that if a student does want to move through in one semester or in 1 year, that there really is enough of an offering for them. We have an exchange student this semester who's joining Concordia from Colombia, and he in the winter term will have completed all 4 core skill modules. It's just extraordinary. Students find it's a really wonderful way to connect with each other outside of what their discipline is. And it's free, and it's very low stakes, except for, you're filling out your reflection forms. And so it's very internalized to what you're trying to get out of it yourself. So as I mentioned, it was really important for us to have some kind of a certificate. So we've created FutureReady certificates for each one of these core skill areas. And students receive a copy of this, and they can share it as they wish on their LinkedIn account. But we just really wanted recognition for the investment that students are going through. Our challenge is having employers really understand what this FutureReady certificate means. So that's something that, an area that we're still working on. One of the students said to me recently, FutureReady should have a LinkedIn account so an employer could go online, find FutureReady. Saul, do you have a question?
Yeah, I'll relate to this. Do you have, do you give badges? Because the badges they link to something that tells people what they are.
We don't. They get a digital version of the certificate. They can get a printed one too, and then it's up to them. But that's a really good idea, and it's something that we're struggling with to make it more useful for students, so that they see value in actually having these certificates. What we do know is that the amount of certificates that we gave out last year versus this year has, really expanded, and students really seem to be, this is important to them. Part of it is the move to online. And so the program is so accessible to students in our new environment. And that's been a wonderful learning for us, because we realize we will always have a hybrid offering. So that's really satisfying to see. So another, this really important, in the same way that we ask students to reflect, we go through a very deep assessment cycle. We take all of the information that we get in the reflection forms, the ones that we receive every day when students attend workshops, and then those deeper reflection forms. And we go through where we really are asking ourselves, have we set the right learning objectives? Are we seeing in the reflection forms that students are learning what we want them to do, to really learn? Are there gaps? Are we offering all these workshops on communication and digital capabilities, but students are saying that they're actually not learning what they want to learn? Has all the research changed from when we started to look at this in 2018 and how do we need to adapt. We've just added and are working on a new module around financial literacy, because students kept saying to us, it's something that we're not learning in our classes. So that's, we're just always redefining what we're offering. So we go through this, and I'll just sort of show you sort of how it plays out. We have a cycle of, we're taking in the reflection tool information. We have the wonderful student staff who you saw in the photo earlier. So we're going through all kinds of check-ins with them too, to make sure that they're gaining from being part of the FutureReady team. That, and then we're looking at that deeper module level reflection, and it's ongoing throughout the year. And then as needed, we hold focus groups with the students. We just continually want to make sure that we're on track with what we're promising that we're offering, both at a program level and at a workshop level. And if we need to go back to a facilitator and say, can you just tweak a little bit, or we realized we weren't offering a lot on persuasion. So we went back to one of our facilitators and said, this year, can you offer a workshop on persuasion? So it's just an ongoing process of assessment for us, as well as the students going through the program. So we get all kinds of data like this. You can see that our attendances continue to grow. We get lovely student testimonials that just make my heart sing when we see them. And then we go back again with all that information and just go through this assessment. So this is really important, and I'm curious if with the programs that you're learning on, with your offering or your experiences, whether you're going through some similar assessment processes, because we're always looking for other ways that we can think about our program and how we can improve it. So if you do have, I would love to hear from you afterwards if you do have ideas for us. So what has been so important to us is collaboration. And after we piloted the program in 2018, we started hearing from other teams across the university who came to us and came to Andrea and came to the Student Success Center and said, how can you customize for the students, within our department or within our area, our service? So the Stingers, who are all the Concordia athletes, sports and recreation came to us and said, we really want a customized program. So we've created something. We have just launched this year a Startup Ready program. So this is all, we have lots of partners in this, and this is to bring students, once they've gone through that initial innovation and entrepreneurship module, it's now to take them deeper into the startup process. So it's the openness to always having partnerships, to listening to what students want, to networking and knowing who's in your community. It's been so valuable to us. We couldn't do any of this without collaboration across campus, across university. This fusion network, and I don't know whether any of you are part of it, is universities across Canada. And now there's a fusion person at a lead for fusion at Concordia. So they bring programs that are working very well in other universities. We've just launched a program with Humanities Plus. It's for humanities students. It came out of Ryerson. It worked very successfully at Ryerson. And they came to Concordia through the Fusion Network and said, we want to launch it. Could FutureReady be involved with us? We've just done something with aerospace design and engineering, which I couldn't even imagine what we started, that we would have this openness to the skill development across campus like this. So partnerships have been really, really important to us. So I really, that was just an overview of FutureReady from pilot to where we are now. everything from the design process to thinking it through, to building our promotional materials, to building our reflection tools. And I welcome any questions that you have about the program or the experience, anything that you would have to share that could enrich Future Ready for us. I'm open to all questions. I'd love to hear from you.
I would like to thank you today. It's very interesting. And I have a question in terms of users. At what stage in their undergrad program are students using the Future Ready?
It's a really good question. We have such a range of students. We do find that students, as they're sort of in their third and fourth years, start to really actively become involved in the program. But we've started to build connection with the team who are working with new students coming in. So that as new students come in, that they can start to come into, they might not be so interested in the career development module, but they might be really interested in growth and balance and managing stress. So they come in at different points. We do find that students who are recent grads really want to come back, because once they do get into the workforce, then they're curious to come back to Future Ready, and we keep it open to them. We've created a Future Ready Facebook group. We have a Future Ready newsletter. We try to stay very, very connected to our community. But what we find also is students graduate, and every September it's a new cohort. And we work so hard in September to get students to learn about Future Ready. And once they hear about it and they start coming to it, no problem for the winter term, because they start to want to earn their certificate. They start to make friends. But it is challenging with first years because there's so much going on in their university lives, and they don't necessarily connect to what Future Ready is in the initial stages. So that's why we've tried to broaden it to bring in the growth and balance core skill area, and for communications and digital we really try and have things around how can you work as a team to have a better, more effective group project, or how can you improve your public speaking skills, so that as students are moving through their university life, that they really see that what they're learning in Future Ready plays out the next day in their work, in the classroom. Whereas students who are moving towards graduating start thinking about that innovation and entrepreneurship, the startup ready, and really engage with the career development module. Are there other questions, or do people have some? Oh, go ahead, Saul.
No, as I've been following this for quite some time. If I could share one thing, Kate started this as her internship, and I was supervising it. So I was really excited about the program because our graduate level program was is such a smash hit. I mean, and so I was really excited to see that we were doing this. Are students allowed to continue taking these courses after they graduate for a period of time, or like you graduate and that's it? You don't have any more access to this?
No, they can continue to stay through as recent grads. And then so much of what we do now, we do in partnership. We do a lot with Grad Pro Skills, who's the program for graduate students, so that we're trying to have avenues where a student might start with us, go on to grad school, do things with Grad Pro Skills at Concordia, but still be part of our community because we're partnering. So we do have, and especially as we expand to new programming, like the Startup Ready program. But no, we want students to feel like this is their home, and they can come back when they have questions and they have new things that they want to explore and learn.
That's terrific.
Yeah. Well, it's been Saul knows this so well because he had to read my internship report, but what a gift to be, at the beginning of creating a new program like this that is so rewarding for students, and such a pleasure to spend time online with students in all of these workshops and our wonderful facilitators, and to have the privilege of always being able to reassess and think, what can we add to this? How can we change it next week? How can we change it next month? That's a lovely,
Can I ask a follow-up?
Lovely job.
What has been the biggest difference from what you expected from what actually happened?
From what we expected, I mean, I just, what I'm finding now is students, we have so many, since we went online, this has been a really positive environment for students to come to. And I never expected we would have students who, go through 20 to 30 workshops. I think we thought students would come to one or two, but students are really, really engaged with this. And I never expected that.
That's interesting, because I would have expected it just based on the grad pro skills experience. And granted, they're a different age group and a different cohort, but it got very soon after our graduate curriculum, co-curricular program launched, it very quickly reached a point where if you didn't register like immediately, you were not going to get a space. And one nice thing about moving online is they've been able to address to some extent some of the space issues that they used to have in the face-to-face workshops.
Yeah, and I do everything from, setting up the Eventbrite listings, and I'm forever going in and changing it from, 60 students. No, now we have 100 students. I mean, it's going online has been really, really interesting for us. So I'm curious to see when we are back in person, what that dynamic will be and how much we'll continue to offer online. And our facilitators have found it really interesting to be online too. And so that's a community of people who, many of them would prefer to stay online. So
I mean, our biggest growth area at the undergraduate level was in online enrollments. And that was just for regular academic enrollments. And they, the pipeline of online courses, there was some really strong resistance to it from a certain part of our community, but we have many working students and they just love the flexibility it offers. And so I expect that you're probably going to be demanded. It's going to be kind of like McDonald's. You walk in, you call in, you mobile app in, I mean, whatever, you Uber Eats it in, however you want to do it, which is going to be a stress of its own. But I have a feeling we're going to basically be like, fast food in a way.
Well, we've learned that we have to experiment with time of day. We offer workshops during the day. We offer them on weekends. We offer them at night. We just are trying to be as accessible as we can for students.
Are you tracking the I'm sorry, I sound like I won't monopolize you. I apologize. Because I think that's something that nobody pays as close attention to. Time of day and day of week. They're 7 days, but they're not equal. And we may have 24 hours in a day, but they're not equal. And I'm really curious to see, I'd be curious to talk to you at some other point. Yeah. Where is that sweet spot of the right day of the week and the right time or times of the day where you can get good enrollment? Because we know for our grads courses, it's 3:45 at Thursday. Our hot day is Thursday from 3:45 to 8:20. That's hot time. We have no empty classrooms then. Schedule same time on Friday. Oh, yeah. You'd be offering them $1 million. They will not show up. And I'm sure it's no different in yours, even though there's a more practical nature to some of your stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we're also really cognizant of making sure that we are fitting into a time that our facilitators can work with, because many of them have, they're working in other teams or they have other things. So, but yeah, no, we do very well with afternoon sessions. we've had a lot of interest in some of the weekend sessions. You know, we've done a lot of the project management workshops and a lot of the innovation and entrepreneurship workshops on weekends. We've been doing the financial literacy in the evening, where students, you know, no matter what, could come learn about budgeting and investing. But yeah, it's a really good question, and I'm really interested to see when we're back in person, you know, how it will change. I would love, if you have any questions, my email is here. The FutureReady website, everything's online. If you do want a copy of my PowerPoint, I'm more than happy to share it with you. You can email me and I'll send it to you. I'm so grateful that you came to this workshop this afternoon. I love telling this story. I feel so privileged to be part of this team. So absolutely, we will share anything that you want to know about FutureReady. If it's going to help you with any of your programming, I'd love to share. So don't hesitate to reach out. And thank you very much for spending time with me today.
Thank you, Ted. I guess
Thank you. What great session.
Yeah. Oh, are we at the
Thank you.
end? Are we going to a next session now, Ted?
Yes.
There's a networking session.
Yes. Speed networking.
Oh,
So
I
if you want
wanted
to spend another minute or two talking to Tay,
yeah, I actually loved your question, Saul, because I just think, you know, I'm from BC, but Ontario is way ahead of us on micro-credentialing. And there's something here that looks very much ready to become something of a micro-credential. And the piece that's often missing is that employer engagement or endorsement. And I just think you have such a beautiful program that, yeah, perhaps that's an exciting next step. I'll keep an eye on the development of this.
Oh, and if you want to reach out, if if you're looking to develop something yourself, or are there any elements that you would be interested in, I'm more than happy to share information about what our workshops are, who we work with. One of the benefits of being online is we now have, I think we have 3 of our workshop facilitators living in BC.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Another thing, it's now working with time zones.
Yeah, that's actually why I was late. I'm so sorry. It was
No, not at
lunchtime
all.
for me, but
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
it's definitely lots of movement in terms of micro-credentialing. But for me, there's a very natural alignment of work-integrated learning and career readiness. And like you said, for employers to understand the certificate, that's where the buy-in and the value add for students are. So I think that's such a neat thing to maybe explore moving forward. So we'll be in touch. I'll reach out. I got your email here.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, thank you.
I have to go, but thank you so much. I'm going to get the other session open. So talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I'll leave. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you.